Please join as much as you can in these simple mindfulness exercises. Practice it. Just a be here, be now practice, bringing the tips of the fingers to the head, pressing, and then to the ears and pinching, pulling down. Below the nostrils, just pressing. And leaning forward, stretching the spine. Chin back, eyes back. And then coming up and stretching. Fingers lace, push up with the heels of the hands. And then come down. Here, now. The breath in the mat. Inhaling up and then to the other side, folding. And again, breathing. Inhaling up. Placing the hands behind, bringing the shoulder blades together. And exhale, folding forward. And then coming up. And keeping the spine straight, twist first to the left. And forward and to the right. Head right around, eyes right around, to the furthest place you can see. And then back, placing the fists at the base of the trunk. And circling deeply. And then coming up and back. And then at this bottom, change directions. And slip your right arm under your left armpit with a hand there. And then, so we're bending our spine sideways, massaging the whole nervous system which runs through the spinal column, changing sides. And then lacing the fingers behind the neck, elbows wide, and then keeping the spine straight again, massaging the nervous system. And the other side. Coming back to center. And pointing out. And lifting the shoulders. 5 times, deeply up and deeply down. Making bow. And then stretching your legs and turning in this direction. Position. And if you want to bring your chairs a little closer, you're welcome to do that. Is it close enough?
We'll find out. It's hard with a scarf. Good try.
Testing. Testing. Can you hear me? Is it okay if I take my mask off if I'm talking? I saw a lot of this. Were there any others who? Okay. Let's start with our priest Maun reading from the Dhammapada. It's a book of kind of a Reader's Digest of the teachings of the Buddha. And we read a page each week. So it takes us about a year and some to get through the book.
They look deeply into things and see their nature. They discriminate and reach the end of the way. They do not linger with those who have a home, nor with those who stray. Wanting nothing, they travel on alone. They hurt nothing. They never kill. They move with love among the unloving, with peace and detachment among the hungry and querulous. Like a mustard seed from the point of a needle, hatred has fallen from them, and lust, hypocrisy, and pride.
A little snow this morning, cold, yet we keep the windows open and gather in from the 10 directions. A warm welcome to the temple and good morning.
Good morning, Hajjusina.
These days when I look out, especially with masks, I hardly recognize them. Some of the teachers of the Buddhist Society for Compassionate Wisdom and senior students spent a couple of hours yesterday, so really special, with a man by the name of Robert Buswell. He's the foremost scholar of Korean Buddhism in the West.
People can't hear. Can you
A little
speak up?
louder.
You can't hear, so I'll speak
They
up.
can. Yeah.
Robert Buswell, oh, now I can even hear myself. Robert Buswell is the premier scholar of Korean Buddhism in the West. And our teacher, who has been our premier teacher of Korean Buddhism, has Parkinson's disease and is very disabled, and so he can no longer teach. So it was a blessing to be able to be with Robert Buswell. And there was so much that that I could share about it, but I would, for the sake of this talk today, I would like to share an intention he made for himself when he was quite young. I think he said around 12 years old. And this, he said, really affected his whole life, this intention he made. And I think it was something like, how can I live without harm? That was really touching to me. I don't know. Maybe my granddaughter, she's pretty special, could come up with something like that at that age, you know? And I wonder if we also, as youngsters, came up with something like that. And then he expressed how much he kept searching for the answer to how can I live with the least harm or without harm. And it led him to, in his reading and the courses he took in high school, college, going to Asia and living in various monasteries, and then finding out after real diligence and hard work that he was really a scholar. And so then he devoted his life eventually to Korean Buddhism, but to Buddhism in general. It was inspiring. He's older now, and he's kind of light and a little bit amusing at times, and just so wise. I mean, it wasn't a bunch of dull stuff. It was kind of a stuff with great humanity in it. So we got not only a scholar, but a great human being to be with. And if you see these people nodding, they were there. It was so true. But the idea that when he was young, how can I live without harm? So I just leave you for a moment to see, do you have something like that you've made for yourself? You didn't have to be 12, 27, 54, whenever, right now. Have you thought about it? And maybe an elucidation of that would be, how are you living your purpose today? What are you focusing on? What are you turning away from? You own your choices every moment of the day. Can you feel it? Every choice you make, moment after moment, hour after hour, and day after day, brings you to your situation right now. Can you feel it? Yeah. Actually, it's very empowering. In no way, really, are we victims. In our tradition, we say, everybody's got the Buddha nature. That's just a head job. The hard work comes in manifesting that. And there's nothing wrong with hard work. In a society where let's be comfortable, let's have everything we want, we're saying there's nothing wrong with hard work. I went away for Thanksgiving and got to be with my 2 daughters, 1 son-in-law, 4 grandchildren, 2 step-grandchildren, then the other son-in-law, and 2 dogs, all in the same building. Certainly I had to get tested when I got back. Negative. And during that time, my daughter, my older daughter, my 2 daughters grew up at the temple, got her 20-year chip in AA. I asked her if I could tell you this story, because most stuff that goes on at AA is anonymous. Yeah, and she said, yeah, Mom, you can tell the story. So I had permission. I didn't used to always ask their permission about the stories I would tell about my kids, and they got very irritated. So anyway, Garima, I guess I was in her early 20s when she first went to AA, and so she's been working these 20 years. And she lives a really, really chaotic life. I mean, I walked into it with the kids and the dogs, and all of the family is going through having COVID for the second time. So that means the kids are staying home, they can't go to school, the parents have to figure out how to work from home. The dogs are there and they're just new dogs and they haven't been very well trained. And then the mother-in-law comes. It's just feeding everyone all the time and trying to. So my daughter has really gone through a lot. On top of that, she has a job as a lactation consultant. So she helps new parents with nursing. Yeah. And her life has been really, really turbulent. But when the turbulence is all around her, she has the greatest sense of being, what's the Dhammapada mean? Being loving among the hungry, kids and dogs, and querulous. She really has a sense of equanimity, wisdom. It's really kind of beautiful to be with her. Her circumstances have not changed. The pandemic goes on. And I said to her, how can you do this? And she said, because I just work the program every day. And I see that she does. She always, when she gets up, she gets her coffee, she does this reading. Often we all hear the reading if we're all together. And then she journals. She's really a consistent journal. She has books and books of journaling. And she has been a sponsor for others who are in the AA program. And she herself, of course, has been sponsored. So I feel like she's been 20 years sober, which is great, but she's also turned into kind of a wisdom woman. Yeah. And I do not see our Buddhist practice as so different from that. In terms of the practices. And that brings me to a little bit about kind of our Buddhist practices and how to put it in a nutshell. Okay, let's just cool for a minute here. Okay, well, Professor Baswal was saying how he, in all his studies, did not find in any scripture an exact plan that the Buddha made. But there are some basic things, and Ma a few weeks ago gave a talk on Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path. So that was the very first teaching of the Buddha. And then as his life unfolded came the 5 hindrances and how to transform them. The hindrances: going for a worldly life, being hateful and angry, being slothful, this is just off the top of my head, being a little bit restless, yeah, being a little bit lazy. Yeah. So working to transform the hindrances, working to embody the Eightfold Path, First, understanding, and then bringing it into the body through our hands, our feet, our actions, what comes out of our mouth. Yeah. So that's basically the tradition. And it came through Asia, China, Southern Asian countries, Japan, Korea. And from our Korean tradition, all of those strands, many strands came. And over the centuries, probably arriving in about 372 AD, over the centuries since then, there's been a stream that's come in the last few hundred years that involves, and maybe I'll ask you to write this down, please, two aspects of our Korean tradition. Kyo, Kyo. Yeah. And that means study. So there is a component of study, because a lot of times in Zen or Sun, we think, oh no, it's not, because the Bodhidharma said that it's a transmission outside the scriptures. But really, we found through just living that there needs to be some study. Okay, so, and then the other part of it is Sun, S-E-O-N. And Sun is the Korean word for Zen. And Zen is the word from China for Chan. And then if we go back to the Buddhist time, Chan is, in India, the word is jhana. So we have a tradition of Kyo, study, and Sun, meditation. Okay, and so what we offer at this temple is Kyo and Sun. And usually when people like yourself comes, I think there's a few people who are new on the blog right now. We try to give you a taste of the tradition a little bit by your coming to these public services. So you get a little idea of our practices, because besides Sun or Zen meditation, we have chanting, we have bowing, we have prostrations when we really bow right to the floor. There's some ritual and liturgy, which is part of it too. But these are the two essentials. And as I was looking through my books today, I decided to just come up with some books to get started with. Because like my daughter, who always reads the AA stuff every day, just a paragraph, as people interested in Buddhism or calling ourselves Buddhists, it's really important, I think, to be doing a little study every day, figuring out how to find it. So a book by Pema Chodron, which is really very popular right now, is called When Things Fall Apart. They are falling apart. So it's a really good book, and just one paragraph at a time. Thich Nhat Hanh, famous Thich Nhat Hanh, who's written us so many books. The Miracle of Mindfulness. This is how to bring a practice into everyday life. This was my first Buddhist book to read, because I'd never read for about 3 or 4 years before I first came to the temple and lived at the temple, because my teacher said no reading. And so this was the one that I first read, and it's a really good first read. It's a little old-fashioned, so you have to put up with old-fashioned. And then if you're really wanting something to chew on, the Dhammapada is a reader's digest of the basic teachings. This book, in the Buddha's words, is deeper. This is what you should ask for Christmas, or this, or this, or when things fall apart. Just suggesting, because people often ask you what you would like. So each one of them can be read paragraph by paragraph, chapter by chapter. So getting a little kyo going. And then let's look at sun, meditation. And I found just a lovely section on meditation in Willa Blythe Baker's book. It's a new book, it's worth seeing, The Wakeful Body. Meditation is a subtle technology. Interesting, I've never heard meditation called a technology. It has nothing to do with being religious per se, but rather exploring the inner life, figuring out who we are and finding safe space within ourselves. It's there, yeah. The Sanskrit term for meditation is bhavana. Could you write this down? Because I think it's an important word to remember. B-H-A-V-A-N-A. B-H-A, bhavana. And bhavana means to cultivate, nice word, eh? Or to develop. So when we're meditating, it's a practice of cultivating and developing. Meditation involves cultivating a way of being that is calm, embodied, spacious, and present moment focused. Calm, yes, we like that. Embodied, spacious, present moment focused. We cultivate this way of being not primarily by engaging the intellect, but by gradually training the body-mind organism to engage skillfully with whatever is here and now. Bhavana, to develop, to cultivate, in the spirit of being skillful with what is here and now, within ourselves and around. Hard work. It's hard work. Yet, in my view, I think the best kind of work. Because how we help ourselves affects not only ourselves, but everybody else. Okay. So we talked a little bit about Kyo and getting into some study, and hopefully all of you have done that. Just by virtue of your coming, the sun is taken care of, but try to do at least 5 minutes each day, sometime. Even my daughter, it's not recommended necessarily in AA, she started to meditate, and her daughter sits with her, the 12-year-old that I was talking about. It's kind of touching when they pick up what their mother's been doing for a long time. Yeah. Another part of that I think is really, really important is journaling. How many of you already have had any experience with journaling? Some experience. Oh, yeah, good. But some of you not. No, Pababa? Yeah, no. Journaling is a way to keep in touch with intentions. To keep ourselves on track. To take care of ourselves. Because a lot of times we do things so automatically that we hardly are aware. I recently, with people from our greater Sangha and some folks here, took a course on healthy boundaries. It was really hard for me. I haven't taken courses where I've had reading to do, assignments to do, on by a deadline. And I had to write a final essay. And I decided that part of it would be what I am taking away and going to try to act on as a result of the course. And so I have some journal prompts that I'd like to share with you that I am working with all the time right now. Number one, am I being a bystander? Number two, what is the boundary issue I see? Number three, what speech or action do I take? With me, that one is, I tend to not say anything. So, and sometimes I tend not to do anything, bystander kind of thing. And so that's a really, for me. And then, am I working daily on the creation of our grievance process and ethics guidelines? Like, what am I doing? I say yes, 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 but am I doing something specific about that? What clear communication have I offered today? How have I worked with my power? In a relationship with somebody, being aware of experiencing greed, anger, ignorance, or operating without my awareness of my position of power. I have just begun to kind of understand that I am somewhat powerful in this situation. I think I had a lot of ignorance about it for a long time. Connection with peers this week. That was a really important thing for us in the course because we got to speak a lot together with other people who are doing similar things. It was really valuable, and it seems like it's very important to have spiritual friendship. Well, I think you know that, Magamot, because you're in the group that meets.
Yes.
Yeah. Every Tuesday, is it?
Every Tuesday night.
Yeah. And I think there's some of you that meet every Friday morning, and other people have groups where there can be a kind of check-in and a good discussion of what's going on. It seems really important. Even for me, the old lady, and so I'm in touch with other teachers in my position pretty frequently. It's important to me. See what their issues are. And it turns out that we all have the same issues. So connection with peers this week. Observation of Sangha health or lack of it. And then self-care today. Self-care today. Do any of those kind of ring a bell with you? I mean, it's just, I took the course, but I think that they apply to all of us in some way. And I am going to do something really kind of about self-care right now. And you might not like this, but I really did. There's a woman by the name of Brianna Weist who wrote this, and I'm going to read some of it to you. And she calls it, self-care is often a very unbeautiful thing. It is making a spreadsheet of your debt and enforcing a morning routine and cooking yourself healthy meals and no longer just running from your problems and calling the distraction a solution. It is often doing the ugliest thing that you have to do, like sweat through another workout or tell a toxic friend you don't want to see them anymore, or get a second job so you can have a savings account, or figure out a way to accept yourself so that you're not constantly exhausted from trying to do everything all the time, and then needing to take deliberate, mandated breaks from living to do basic things like drop some oil into a bath and read Marie Claire and turn your phone off for the day. A world in which self-care has to be such a trendy topic is a world that is sick. Self-care should not be something we resort to because we are so absolutely exhausted that we need some reprieve from our own relentless internal pressure. True self-care is not salt baths and chocolate cake. I don't think that's always the case, but there could be a wisdom call. Yeah. So as I said, true self-care is not always salt baths and chocolate cake. It is making the choice to build a life you don't need to regularly escape from. I thought that was really a wonderful thing. It's building a life that you don't need to regularly escape from. And that often takes doing the things you least want to do. It often means looking your failures and disappointments square in the eye and re-strategizing. It is not satiating your immediate desires. It's letting go. It's choosing new. It is disappointing some people. It is making sacrifices for others. It is living a way that other people won't. So maybe you can live in a way that other people can't. It is letting yourself be normal, regular, unexceptional. I like that. It is sometimes having a dirty kitchen and deciding your ultimate goal in life isn't going to be having abs and keeping up with your fake friends. It is deciding. Isn't this quite delightful? I mean, it's refreshing, at least to me. I'm sorry if it's bothering you. That's a sign. It is deciding how much of your anxiety comes from not actualizing your latent potential and how much comes from the way you were being trained to think before you even knew what was happening to you. Isn't that interesting? A lot of this stuff that we get into today was cultivated a long, long time ago in us. And we're just seeing it now, and whoa. If you find yourself having to regularly indulge in consumer self-care, it's because you are disconnected from your actual self-care, which has very little to do with treating yourself and a whole lot to do with parenting yourself and making choices for your long-term wellness. It is no longer using your hectic and unreasonable life as justification for self-sabotage in the form of liquor and procrastination. It is learning how to stop trying to fix yourself and start trying to take care of yourself. And maybe finding that taking care lovingly attends to a lot of the problems you were trying to fix in the first place. It means being the hero of your life, not the victim. It means rewiring what you have until your everyday life isn't something you need therapy to recover from. It is no longer choosing a life that's good, looks good over a life that feels good. It is giving the hell up on some goals so you can care about others. It is being honest, even if that means you aren't universally liked. It is meeting your own needs so you aren't anxious and dependent on other people. It is becoming the person you know you want and are meant to be. Someone who knows that salt baths and chocolate cake are ways to enjoy life, not to escape from it. A long time ago, when my kids were little, and that's when they're the hardest, I had a chance to go to a person in Ann Arbor. I forget her last name, but her first name was Peggy. And she used to do parenting groups. And everybody raved about how wonderful these parenting groups were. And since I had two real little kids, and they were, and living at the temple, and I went to see, to this house just over on Cambridge where she lived. And I got a chance to pull her aside and to tell her, that I would like to get her advice. And she said, really, well, tell me what's going on. So I said, well, I've got these two girls and they're this and this and this and this. I've got the whole temple. I have to keep doing this. There's so much, and she just stopped me and she said, I think my name was Sukha then. Yeah. Sukha, you need a bubble bath. So she just in my face. And I was shocked that it seemed that she really wasn't listening to me and that she just was sort of forthright in that. And so I didn't have anything else to say except but. And I realized a lot of the things that are in this thing by Brianna that I really had to begin taking care of myself in a different way than I had been. Because I thought I had all these legitimate things that I had to do, and it was ruining my life, But really, I just had to be more careful with them. So, let's see. One of the books that I keep is I find things that I think are really beautiful or interesting, or maybe I'll share with you and I write them down. Scientists have discovered that it takes approximately 400 repetitions to create a new synapse in the brain, unless it is done in play, in which case it only takes 10 to 20 repetitions. Hear, hear! So this hard work is not about drudgery. If we're trying to kind of change some of the behaviors we want, it's really about play. And it's like my kids when they were learning to ski. It sounded really hard, but they enjoy it so much that they got really kind of good at it fast. And then, so when we find our way, so that from one day to a next, it's about good self-care. It's probably about some hard work. Yeah. Then there's this lovely poem that Hayun put in our e-bulletin. Hayun is here. She's the editor of our e-bulletin. See if I can find it. Yeah. This is called Speaking Without Speaking. An old fisherman from Depot on the shore of the East Sea, when he goes to the sea, he becomes the sea. Goes to the temple, he becomes the temple. Wherever his life may go, know him as a wave. Let me read it again. And I will give 5 stars to anybody who has memorized it. I just want to finish. Speaking without speaking. An old fisherman from Depot on the shore of the East Sea. When he goes to the sea, he becomes the sea. Goes to the temple, he becomes the temple. Wherever his life may go, know him as a wave. Anybody get it memorized?
I think so.
Go ahead, I'll get you 5 stars.
Uh-oh. Not so much pressure. Speaking without speaking. An old fisherman from Daipo.
On the shore of the East Sea.
On the shore of the East Sea. When he goes to the sea, he becomes the sea. Goes to the temple, he becomes the temple. Wherever he may go, know him as a wave.
Pretty darn good. So, hey, all you waves. You know, you can substitute when you go to the sea, when you go to your class, when you go to work. And the temple, well, go to the temple. Just do. Waves are water, and water takes the shape of the container that it's in. So how to do that? And also keep Robert Buswell's intention, which was what?
How to live without harm.
Whatever yours is. Okay, waves?
Okay.
We have a lot more energy than we think we do. We can do this. And it's really not just for us, it's for everybody. So here's the challenging 4 great vows. Please repeat after me. All beings, one body.
All beings, one body.
I vow to liberate.
I vow to liberate.
Blind passions, one root.
Blind passions, one root.
I vow to terminate.
I vow to terminate.
Dharma gates, one mind.
Dharma gates, one mind.
I vow to penetrate.
I vow to penetrate.
The great way of Buddha.
The great way of Buddha.
I vow to realize.
I vow to realize.
One wave at a time.
One wave at a time.
Thanks for listening. I'm sorry I took up all the time because I'd like to hear from all of you. I won't speak so much the next time. Hey, Magamoki-san, our announcer for today.
Hello, everyone, and welcome in from 10 Directions.
Good morning,
Morning, Magamo.
If you have any questions after the service, you can ask any of us wearing the gray, and we will try to answer your questions. And also, if you're interested in getting the weekly email from the temple or email bulletin, there's a sign-up sheet in the foyer where you can put your name on the list to get our email bulletin. The temple offers an introductory meditation class from time to time, and it runs for 5 Thursday evenings from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. And in the class, you learn about the basics of meditation, the basics of Zen. You learn about Kyo and Son. You know, from where I was sitting here, I could see the monitor that what the people on YouTube are seeing. And when we wrote Kyo, it was oik because it was backwards, and Son was nose. So that's, and then we learned to cultivate different perspectives. So 5 Thursday evenings from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. There's a sign-up sheet that's going to be starting in January. And maybe you're interested in taking the introductory meditation class, but you don't have Thursday evenings available and you'd like to do it in one session. We do offer all that same material as a one-day overnight class. So it runs from 7 p.m. on Friday, January 21st, and goes until Saturday at noon the next day. So it's overnight. It covers all that same information. We do let you sleep, and there's a sign-up sheet for that if you're interested. On Thursday mornings, we're having a study group that Maom is running that is a study of Pema Chodron's No Time to Lose, which is a commentary on the way of the Bodhisattva. So you can contact us at AnnArborZenTemple@gmail.com or give us a call if you're interested in joining that study group. And then looking ahead, there's a 5-day intensive retreat. This is our Youngman Junction, and we have these at several times throughout the year. This one's going to be virtual, and it's going to be held in that week between Christmas and New Year's. So it's going to run from 7 p.m. on Monday, December 26th, until 9 a.m. on Friday, December 31st. And there's a sign-up sheet in the foyer if you're interested in that. Groups that are meeting today after the service, Recovery Dharma.
Recovery Dharma will be meeting in the
Where?
down in the basement in the, I call it the utility room now. The temple calls it the library, but
The old library.
okay, the old library where it is devoid of books.
Okay, if you need to know where that is, we can show you. Any other groups meeting today? Okay. And remember, the temple is supported entirely by your kind donations of time and money. There's a fishbowl in the foyer for monetary donations. And if you'd like to donate your time, talk to any of us wearing the gray about ways that you can volunteer.
All right, please stand and we'll do 3 bows together, formally end. A lot of words and intellectual stuff, so just breathing, feeling the breath in our bodies, feeling our hands touching in this beautiful mudra called hapcham, bringing things together. Thanks everyone from a distance for joining us this morning. Please let us know how you're doing and where you're checking in from.